All right. Welcome. Welcome to day 3, the final day. I'll probably go late again today because we ran the VIP 9 minutes over. All right, let's get this party started. Welcome to day 3. Today, we need to make a commitment to reinvent ourselves to make this work. And so in order to do that, I'm going to show you some actual examples of this in practice. But first, let's do a little quiz. I want you to name me the character. Name me the character, all right? Austrian immigrant, moves to America, and then decides, oh, you guys already got it. You already got it. Arnold Schwarzenegger. I didn't even have to continue. I didn't even have to continue. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay. So, does anybody know that when Arnold started out, and his movie career was in shambles? He could not get hired for a single role for a long time, and he almost gave up. And he ended up, I believe he got a new agent, and his new agent says to him, you know, Arnold, you know what your problem is? He says, however Arnold talked. What is my problem? And he says, you're trying to be an actor. You're not an actor. What do you mean I'm not an actor? He says, you're a movie star. What is the difference between actor and movie star? Terrible Arnold impersonation. See, an actor plays someone else on screen. A movie star plays himself on screen in multiple movies. Think about it. Bruce Willis, same dude in every movie. Some disgruntled cop that doesn't want to be there but ends up saving the world anyway. Okay? Sylvester Stallone, badass who kicks everybody's butt every single day, right? Johnny Depp, dysfunctional anti-hero. Every single movie, it's the same thing. Arnold Schwarzenegger. So a movie star is someone who has a magnetic personality that's so strong that you don't need to get them to play somebody else. You can get them to play themselves in Samuel L. Jackson in every single movie. So he says, from now on, you're not going to try to get acting roles. You're going to try to get movie star roles. And so Arnold reinvented himself, and he became the #1 action hero in history, the most famous movie star, in my opinion, still to this day, the quintessential embodiment of a movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he reinvented himself. He was losing. He was lost. He was down. It was almost over for him. And he reinvented himself because somebody introduced him to a different way of thinking. Didn't tell him how to act better. Didn't tell him how to talk to, do better at auditions. Didn't tell him how to improve his accent. Didn't need to improve his accent. Didn't tell him anything except a different way to think. And when he changed the lens in which he saw what he was doing, he was able to reinvent himself and become the most famous movie star of all time. What I'm going to ask you all to do today is adopt a new way of thinking and commit today. Today is the day that you will reinvent yourself. And when you do, you can have all the things you want, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, Arnold did not have a blueprint. He did not have a manual to do this. Fortunately for you guys, you do have a manual. Russell and Dan made this manual, and it has dramatically helped me, and I know it will help you. This is a manual to reinventing yourself and finally making this work. All right? And the Magnetic Marketing team has been kind enough to introduce a pay plan today, where if you take the offer, you can get it on a pay plan, and you'll still be able to attend the meet and greet. If you want to flash the link up, we can real quick. Oh, there it is. You can get if you get in now, you can get in on the 7 p.m. meet and greet. I'm going to stay on for 2 or 3 hours, and I'm going to do this thing I do where you tell me your stuff and I repeat it back better, and I just tell you what to do. I don't tell you some conceptual thing. I literally just tell you what to do. Do this. I am that confident. I will just tell you what to do. Okay, period. So, and I've never been sued for giving bad advice because I try not to give bad advice. Why? Because I've made all the mistakes myself. So I just know what not to do. All right. So that said, let's hop into day 3. And let me see. What do we got for slides? Let's get some slides moving on up here. I don't normally do slides, but I decided to based on the tech today. All right. All right. So the first thing that you have to do in order to understand you can do this, you got to realize that you are fascinating. You are a fascinating person. No matter what happens, you're fascinating. And you know what? If you are the most boring person on the planet, you can still be fascinating. So here's what we're going to do. Here are some questions you can ask yourself right now. And let's do this. In the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, write down how fascinating you think you are right now. Scale 1 to 10, how fascinating do you think you are right now? Okay, 10. Okay, good. I love the confidence. I love it. You should have confidence. Absolutely. 8.5. So I see some 6s. I see some 5s. I see some 7s. For those of you who are at an 8 to 10, then you're good. You're good to go. Oh, I think I'm right. So Nick says he's a 3. So I'm going to pay attention, Nick. You're vanilla. So Nick says he's a 3. So Nick, here's 10 questions and you all follow along. I want you to ask yourself. Number 1, why did I start my job or business? Was there a cool story behind it? That is the first question. Next, did I ever have a hard time in work or life? How did I get past it? Next, fun hobbies. Do I do anything fun outside of work? How did I start it? Places I've been. Have I been to cool places on trips? What fun things happened there? Next, who taught me important stuff in life? What did they tell me? These are simple questions. What? Did I do this one? Okay. Daily life. What special about my day-to-day work or things I use? How am I different from a few years ago? This is a big one. How am I different from a few years ago? Did I learn new good habits? How am I? Next is, are there any cool or funny stories from my family's past? Are there any cool or funny stories from my family's past? Life rules. Do I have any special rules I live by? Why are they important to me? These are great for coming up with principles. All right. So before we move on to the golden rule, Nick, was it Nick? Nick, are you able to answer any of those questions? Because I saw Nick said a 3. Are you able to answer any of those questions, Nick? Any of the questions that I just put up? Yes, you are. Which one resonates the most with you? Which one are you like, oh, I got one for that? Which one? In fact, are we able to turn Nick's audio on? Can we do that on the general session? Can we do that real quick? I want to illustrate a very important point here. He is on. Nick, you there?
Yeah.
Nick, which one of those? So you only think you're a 3. You don't think you're that fascinating, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it. I didn't think I was that fascinating either. But let's see if we can change that. So Nick, which of those questions resonated with you the most? They're on your worksheet, by the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I guess, why did I start my job or business?
What's your business?
I'm now in coaching, specifically to fitness studios. I help fitness studios drive sustainable revenue through proven business strategies.
So you help fitness studios grow their business, right?
Yeah.
And these aren't gyms. These are something different?
Well, it's basically the same thing. Yeah.
I've never heard anybody call a gym a fitness studio. It's just a gym. So is there something different about a fitness studio than a gym?
Not really.
Why do you call it a fitness studio?
That's a good question.
If they said, I own a blank, would they say fitness studio or a gym?
Probably gym.
So do you think it would be a good idea to call it a gym?
Yeah.
Okay, lesson 1. There you go. All right, moving on from that. Why did you start the thing you started?
Because I had a gym and I learned a lot of lessons as it failed.
It failed?
It did hard. And I would like to be able to teach other people how not to do what I did.
Did you ever make it successful?
I started making it successful right as my franchisor kind of turned against me. And
Say again. You sound like you're under a blanket. Say it again.
here, let me turn this off.
Is this better?
Oh, that's 10,000 times better. That's about as better as calling it a gym rather than a fitness studio.
Yeah. So I started making it successful right as my franchisor kind of turned against me.
So it started becoming successful, and then something happened.
Yep.
Was it successful long enough for you to show that it was successful?
About 3 months.
But you have some, so you can be like, this is what made it more successful. You can show that.
Yeah.
Okay. So why did you? So you just said I had a gym, it wasn't successful, and then I made it successful, and that's why I want to help gym owners. So what was the thing you did that made it more successful?
I changed my offer and I started selling more personal training and classes.
Okay. So you went from a normal gym model to a more of a personal training gym.
Yeah. Class-based training.
And what gave you that idea?
Other gym owners that were in my same franchise.
So you saw them succeeding.
Yeah.
And you replicated that and you became more successful.
Yeah.
And what's the reason why you have a gym in the first place?
Because I wanted to help people to change their lives.
Okay.
And I always just liked the gym feel. I like gyms.
Was there any other question you could have answered from that list, like a cool place you've been or any of that type of thing? Like, what's a cool place you've been?
Spent 6 months in Indonesia.
You spent 6 months in Indonesia. Okay. Is it very different in Indonesia?
It's very different from where I'm from. Yeah.
Where are you from?
Mississippi.
And how is it different?
Everything from the food to the people to transportation.
Would you say it's better?
Things to do. Do what?
Would you say it's better?
In some ways.
Okay. And why is it better, or what ways is it better?
Honestly, the food was better. There was a bit more focus on community as well.
Okay. And why do you think they focus more on community?
Maybe they have to depend on each other more. I don't know.
Okay, great. So I'm not saying this is going to be amazing, but just to get you, first of all, you think you're not back. Hold on a second. Back up. You said you're a 3. I just realized this. You said you were a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10 of fascinating, but you spent 6 months in Indonesia. Guys, Who here has spent 6 months in Indonesia? Who's from Mississippi? Anybody? Not me. Would one say that it's a man from Mississippi, probably the most boring state in the world, who spends 6 months in Indonesia? What word could we use to describe that? What word? I know a word. Fascinating. That's pretty fascinating. Dude, you're from Mississippi and I've been to Mississippi. Y'all put Jesus on your plates. It's creepy, bro. It's creepy. Okay. That in of itself is fascinating. Okay. I went there one time. It was creepy. All right. It was like they had TBN up on all the stations. It was a buffet. They had Jesus printed on the napkins. Jesus printed on I was just like, okay, this
Sounds like you went to Barry's.
I don't know, but it was creepy. Okay. I don't know. I pretend to know what it's like to be Jesus. But if you forced me to make a guess, I would think he would even think it was creepy. It was weird. Okay. So, and you from that place decided to spend 6 months in Indonesia. But no, you're not fascinating. You're not fascinating, my friend. No. It's not like you could say something like, hey, if you're a gym owner who's struggling to grow, I'm going to show you how to completely reinvent your gym and massively increase your profits. And I remember, listen, guys, I'm from Mississippi. All right. I'm from the most boring state in the entire state. And that's the thing about gyms. Every gym does the same thing. They're boring. Hey, $30 a month, come use our equipment. Boring. Everybody does the same thing. But see, when I went to Indonesia and spent 6 months in Indonesia, I realized it was very different there. The food was better. The transportation was better. My light just went off. Because I unplugged it. Well, that just messed up my whole thing. Okay. All right. There. All right. Boom. So, there I'm back. All right. Fascinating. So, spent 6 months in Indonesia, and I noticed all these amazing things. And I noticed that everything was so different there. The food was better. This was better. That was better. But I noticed fundamentally, they were more about community. Everything was about community. And because of they changed the model. See, here in the US, everybody's about themselves. There, everybody's about community. And so it just made for a completely different experience. And it reminds me of gyms. Gyms are so boring. They do things the same way, except for a select few gyms that are absolutely crushing it. Their P&Ls are overflowing. The freaking numbers are jumping off the page onto the desk. You got to grab them and put them back. Otherwise, it might not get into the bank. And that's because they adopt a completely different model. They converted from the boring, regular pay me $30 a month and use my equipment gym to a personal training gym. Or, to a fitness studio. What's the difference between a gym and a fitness studio? A gym, you pay $30 a month and you lift some weights. A fitness studio, you come in and your clients pay, 5 to 10 times more because you walk them through it. You do group classes, small, intimate group classes. You do private training. And imagine if you could have a gym member paying $1,500 a month rather than $30. What would that do for your business? Well, my name is Nick Parrish, and I took a gym from the old boring way of paying $30 a month to use my equipment to the new way of a fitness studio. And in 3 months, we did XYZ. And I'd like to show you how you can do it too. All right? Something like that. So, Nick, scale of 1 to 10, how fascinating you are. You said 3. What do you think you are now?
A 9 or 10.
Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, every single one of you is fascinating. You just have to pull it out of yourself and make it fly out of your mouth like confetti into the ears of your audience so that their wallet flies out of their pocket and into your Stripe account and then into your bank. That's what you got to do. All right. Nick, you are fascinating, brother. In fact, you are a lot more. I thought you were going to be boring. you are a lot more fascinating. You guy from Mississippi spent 6 months in Indonesia. 3 on fascinating. Sure. Guys, have more self-confidence. You guys are all rock stars. The fact that you're even here today, the third day, sticking around. You didn't even pay for this thing. This is free. And you're still here. Shows that you're fascinating. What type of person gets on a 3-day challenge to listen to some Four Eyes yak for 3 hours about marketing? Who does that? The fact that you're even here makes you fascinating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right.
I would say another Four Eyes that wants to learn about marketing.
Bam. There you go. All right. All right. Okay. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. Woo. All right. All right. So I'm going to show you guys some cool stuff today. So I'm going to show you 2 examples of taking magnetic marketing, personality-driven marketing, Dan Kennedy stuff, and putting it into practice. So let's pick the most boring. Actually, let me wait. Before I do this, I got to teach you the golden rule. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, let's bring up the slides with my fancy remote control here on my phone. All right, the golden rule. Golden rule. Every story must have a purpose. Work backwards. So let's go to the whiteboard. Here's what you do, right? You make your brand. I'm gonna map this out. You make your brand, right? Your brand stands for things and against things. From this comes a set of principles. So I'll just call it a P. Principle. Right? Now, what are the principles? Principles are things, concepts that your customer needs to believe in order to buy from you. So for instance, if I was going to sell you a program on how to sell high ticket, then you have to believe that it is better to sell high ticket than low ticket, that it is easier to charge more than to charge less. So this principle would have some sort of point. It's better to charge higher than less. It's better to charge more than less. Okay, great. Or let's say that you are doing weight loss and you believe in intermittent fasting, right? So you might say starving the body is the best way to health, and then you can reference that Limitless with Thor, the guy that played Thor. What the heck's his name? He did this thing on, I think it was Prime or Netflix or something, and he had this whole episode about how he didn't eat for 4 days, and when he didn't eat for 4 days, Chris Hemsworth, yeah. So he had this amazing explanation for it. There's cells in your body that are like broken. The cells are broken and gross and diseased. And when these cells are left in your body, they turn into like cancer and all these bad things. Well, when you starve your body, the bad cells that would eventually turn into a disease don't have enough nutrients to survive, so they go away. They die. But your good cells survive the starvation because they're good cells. So at the end of the 4 days, you don't have any bad cells. You only have good cells, and it's autophagy. What? Autophagy? I don't know what that means, but it's the Chris Hemsworth thing, the Thor thing. See, 2nd grade reading level. It's going to be great. It's going to be huge. Okay, so I have to make you believe that starvation is good for the body. If I want to sell you an intermittent fasting program, huge. It's huge for the body. Huge. It's going to be great. We're going to drain the swamp of your bad cells. So that's the principle. Make a list of like 10 things your customer has to. You will not buy a course on intermittent fasting if you don't believe starvation is good for the body. You will not buy a course on how to sell high ticket if you think it's easier to sell for a lower price than a higher price. By the way, just so you guys know, it is way easier to sell for a higher price. Way easier. All right. So you make a list of principles that people need to believe in. Oh, here's an example. I tell you what, pause. Let me explain this a little bit better. All right. I'll come back to this. So this is right. All right. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a church. This is a church. Okay? Now, over here, we have a Christian. over here, we have an atheist. That's why he has little horns. Okay. So if you were to pick, I see everybody laugh. If you were to convince someone to go to church, who would you have an easier time convincing? The Christian or the atheist? Who is easier to convince to go to church? The green dude or the red dude? The green dude. Exactly. Why? So if I want to convince, hold on now. If I want to convince the green dude to go to church, I don't really have to. Why? I don't have to convince the green dude to go to church because he believes in what? What do you have to believe in first to want to go to church? What do you believe in? What do you believe in? God. You believe in God. So here's God, right? The green dude believes in God. And that's why he goes to church. You don't need to convince him to go to church because he believes in God. And people who believe in God go to church. Do they, Christians? I'm just kidding. Okay, so the dude believes in God, so he goes to church naturally, right? The brothers know what I'm talking about. So the atheist, in order to get him to go to church, what does he have to believe in first to go to church? Can anybody guess? What does he have to believe in first? God! God! And the truth shall set you free. He has to believe in God. Okay? So if he believes in God, you don't need to convince him to go to church because he believes in God, and people who believe in God go to church, or at least they should. So if you get them to believe in the principle, you don't need to convince them to buy your product because people that believe in these principles naturally buy your product as a part of who they are. And that is why we tell stories. You don't need to sell people your product. You just need to change how they think, and they naturally buy your stuff anyway. That is what you do. It's the whole thing. Okay? That's the whole thing. Enlightenment. All right? So, you make what do you stand for? What do you stand against? Make a list of principles that if your clients believe in these things, they can't help but buy from you. You make them a CrossFitter. What CrossFitter goes to Planet Fitness? You want to be a bodybuilder? What bodybuilder goes to Planet Fitness? They have no dumbbells over 50 pounds. They serve pizza on Fridays, and you can't grunt, or they ring the little lump alarm so that everybody who doesn't actually want to work out feels justified. Okay? No bodybuilder goes to Planet Fitness. So if you convince somebody to be a bodybuilder, they ain't going to Planet Fitness. Okay? Period. Because they actually want to get in shape. And they actually want to lift weights, not warm up and eat pizza and not grunt because they're lifting nothing. Okay? You can tell I'm a bodybuilder. All right. So you do this. Okay? I have been kicked out of Planet Fitness. See, that'd be a great story. Okay? All right. So you know who does this really well? The dude from Nomad Capitalist. Go where you're treated best. Go where you're treated best. Okay? He's basically saying, are you a rich dude that doesn't like to pay taxes? America sucks. Go where you're treated best. That's his whole pitch. Okay? Beautiful display of that. Beautiful display of that. Andrew Henderson. Boom. Okay? His sales team, well, anyway, I won't comment on that. So you got the list of principles. Okay? So now what you do is you take your list of principles and you come up with a list of stories. Stories that teach these principles. Okay? Have I told the almond milk story yet? Did I tell the almond milk story? Anybody? Did I tell that on the general, or did I tell that on VIP? General might not have heard it yet. On VIP? Okay, so real quick, just to cover it, right? One day, I tell this at the beginning of all speeches and all events, most of the time. I say, I lift weights. I drink 2-3 protein shakes a day. I only drink almond milk because American dairy sucks. And if you drink American dairy, you're not dairy woke. Okay. It's horrible. Don't drink American dairy. It's terrible. I could tell you a whole thing about how American dairy is allowed to have 5% pus urine, and it's bad. It's just, American dairy is bad. So I drink almond milk. Well, almond milk's expensive because anything good for you in America is expensive. So I spend roughly $150 $150 to $200 a month in almond milk. I'm serious. Okay. I go through like 3 or 4 cartons a week. So one time I go home, my wife has a big jug of almond milk on the counter. I say, why is there a big jug of almond milk on the counter? And she says, you see this? She goes and she picks up a carton of the almond milk I buy. She says, this has all kinds of bad stuff in it. She's from Turkey. So she's like, do you know what you put in America? She's like, there's all kinds of bad stuff in this and sugar and all this stuff. It's terrible for you. And it's $6 a gallon. I said, okay, well, what do you want me to do about it? She walks over to the carafe. She says, this is homemade almond milk. This is a $50 almond milk maker right here. I put a little teeny tiny handful of almonds into the almond maker. I make the almond milk. It costs literally like 20 cents to make this huge carafe of almond milk that's double the size of your carton. So you're spending $200 on horrible almond milk, giving yourself cancer, and you don't have to because we can do homemade almond milk. I said, well, okay. And I agreed with her. My wife's usually right. So, do you know why I spent $200 a month on almond milk that I didn't need to, and I ate all this bad additives? Because I simply didn't know you could make your own homemade almond milk. I didn't know. And because I didn't know, it cost me $200 a month and bad health. Now, see, it's funny because in life, most of our expense, most of our pain and suffering comes from things we simply do not know. Things we don't know. In my case, it was almond milk. But think about your business. Think about all the things you don't know about marketing and how much that's costing you in money, in time, in frustration, because you just don't know it. But you could, because it's all in the manual, okay? Everything that you need to know to improve your marketing and get rid of your biggest expense is in this manual. Think about how much you are losing every month because you don't know how to market. Put it in the chat. What do you think you're losing per month because you don't know how to market? Tell me the number. Tell me the number. What is the number that you're losing per month? Okay? $10,000, $100,000, $20,000, $1 million, $15,000, $10,000, $30,000. Guys, all those numbers that I just mentioned per month, is that more than what this manual and this system cost? $2,000. And we even have a freaking payment plan, for crying out loud. A payment plan. And just think about it. Look, if the number of what you are losing is much higher than what you stand to gain, if the briefcase costs $1,000, but there's $100,000 in it, you're losing $99,000 if you don't take this deal. So my question to you is, have I made my case during these 3 days enough that if you knew how to do what's in this manual, you would stand to not lose that? If you only even a quarter of it, if you eliminated even a quarter of that expense every month, would it be worth it? Would it be worth it? That is the question. And if it's no, then you either hate money or you don't know math. Now, everything I just said is true. I tied a story about my wife's almond milk, which is the most boring possible concept. I made it fascinating, and I tied it to the principle that your biggest expense is what you don't know. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do it. And if you want to do it like I just did it, this manual will tell you how. Period. Okay. The reason if y'all think I'm good at this, the reason why I'm good at this is because of this. It's simple. All right. Simple. So that is how you do it. All right. So does everybody understand your brand, what you stand for, what you stand against, your collection of principles are the things your customer needs to believe in to buy from you. And then you just come up with story after, you only need like 10 of these, not even. And you just come up with story after story after story after story. And then the only other thing you need to do is make sure, and this is a Russell thing, and this is a big thing, you have to have an old way and you have to have a new way. The old way is charging $30 a month for gym memberships. The new way is to charge $1,500 a month for private coaching. The old way is to have a boring coffee shop. The new way is to have a place where night owls can go. Oh yeah, the old way is to stay up all night on your computer while other people are sleeping, or while you're home alone realizing that you have no friends. And the new way is to go to night owls, where you can be in a bustling, productive space, get your work done, and have an amazing latte while you're at it. That's the new way, because it's better to work at night. And here's a story about why it's better to work at night. And it's better this, and it's better that. And this is the principle. Bop, bop, bop. Okay? Have I lost you all, or you picking up what I'm putting down? I love quoting Myron. Yes? With you? All right. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. All right. So I'm going to do some hardcore teaching, and then I'm going to leave you guys with, how would you like to know psychologically, scientifically, why people don't buy? How many people on here right now how many of you want this, but you're like, I can't afford it, I don't want to buy it? I'm going to teach you psychologically why people don't buy. And if you understand this, you will be able to use it to get people to buy who think they don't want to buy, or they can't buy. All right? Already bought it. Harvey already bought it. Awesome. Okay. So let me do some training, and then we'll get into that. I will go a little late today. I hope you guys don't mind. If I'm boring, you just let me know, and I will end it. All right. All right. So 2 examples. So let's bring up the slides. Oh, wait, no. Do I need? Yes. Let's see. What do we got here? Okay. So I did this yesterday, so I'm not going to do it today. I just put it on the wrong slides. I did a story for software. I did a story for financial planner and real estate coach. So I'm going to skip this slide. Bedsheet store. So inside of your workbook, there is a story. Now, this is from a magnetic marketing. I believe this person was in the mastermind. I believe. I could be wrong. I've only been here at Magnetic for 3 days. Today's my last day. So this is somebody who sells bed sheets. Now, let me know in the chat, how much would you normally pay for bed sheets? How much would you normally pay for bed sheets? Just give me, like, what's the most you would pay for bed sheets? So $50, $100, $70, $100, $30. Okay, let me read you this story. Hello, my name is John Lusted, and I am the purveyor of fine Irish linens, of which I believe are the best in the world, and I am here to make you a believer too. I have slept in many different beds, in many different locations, between many different sets of sheets, from the lumpy mattress of an all-boys boarding school in the UK when I was 12, to a hammock on a diesel choking boat floating the Amazon River for 6 weeks, to the cold, hard concrete floor of a jail cell, which was a complete misunderstanding, by the way. I was an apprentice lawyer in my late teens, and after months of training had finally been given the reins by my boss to be on a call to attend the local cop shop if one of our well-accused criminal clients had been arrested and needed representation. Well, long story short, I did get called to the cop shop one dark, cold UK night in 1991, and I went there in sweatpants and a t-shirt, just like my boss always did when I shadowed him on similar visits months before. However, this time I was there during a staff change over in the cell block. When I was done taking instructions from our clients and buzzed to be let out, a different police officer just started his shift looking through the spy hole and asked why I was buzzing the buzzer. When I told him I was done and ready to go, he scoffed, slammed the spy hole door shut, and ultimately turned the buzzer off due to my insistent pressing of it. 7 long hours on a cold jail cell floor with one eye open at all times. Yep, I have slept on hard concrete jail cell floors all the way through to some amazing suites in luxury suite resorts in Thailand and Orlando. And I tell you now, I know if given the choice which sleeping environment I would choose over the other. This is what got me into fine Irish linen. Combining my lifelong love of sleeping with my love of luxury, I went on a search for the finest linens on earth. I went on a search for the finest linens on earth, and I found them in Northern Ireland. I am not British, not Irish, no. There is no trace of Irish in my bloodline, but I am adopted Irish due to my love of Guinness, Jameson Irish whiskey, and golf. Yes, golf originated in Scotland, but there's some beautiful golf courses in Ireland. I am a father to 4 kids, 2 boys aged 21 and 19, and 2 girls aged 17 and 13. A few years back, both of my boys suffered from eczema, mainly behind their knees and on the back of their arms. My grandmother, who at the time of writing this book will be 102 years old in just a few days, suggested the boys sleep on real linen to help them solve their skin problems. My wife and I purchased real linen for our two boys' beds, and within 90 days, their eczema problems had improved dramatically. I will have to call my grandmother in the UK and ask her if sleeping on linen has enabled her to live 102 years and counting. This book is for the discerning person who insists on the highest quality products money can buy, the customer who should be sleeping in my sheets, the highest quality, most sumptuous luxury bedding on the market. The customer who wishes to fall asleep faster, sleep better, and wake up more refreshed, feeling like loyalty. So, now I have to ask you, first of all, most of that story had nothing to do with bed sheets. After reading that story, how much do you think you would pay at Max now for bed sheets? Let me know in the chat. Harvey says more. Owen, which I think, Owen, you were at 30, now you're at 100. Scott says left arm. So I want you guys to notice something. You will notice some people in the chat didn't like this story, or they said less, or they said he had me, but went on too long. But some people are saying $1,200. Some people are saying more for sure. Some people are saying not relatable. And this is exactly the point. When you do this properly, some people will hate it. Those people are never going to give you $1,200 for bed sheets. But some people love it. And those are the people that will give you $1,200 for bed sheets. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the point. Repel and attract the right people. Okay. Next, for you info product people, here we go. First of all, does that make sense? Even if you wouldn't have paid more for bed sheets, did that at least make sense? So next one. Let's go to the next slide. All right. This is from old Nan. All right. So this slide made me $10 million. Would you like me to explain it? By the way, that was a hook, in case you didn't know. And I'm about to tell you the story. And then I'm going to tell you to buy the book again, which is the offer, Hook Story Offer, in case you all are not paying attention. Yes, explain. Okay, so at the time, here's the story. At the time when I created this offer, and you can keep the slide up, it's important to keep the slide up, I was selling the most saturated offer you could possibly sell. How to start a Facebook ad agency. How would you like to learn to make 10 grand a month running Facebook ads for local clients? I was one of those guys. I even had an ad where I was sitting there in a Batman shirt. And I said, how would you like to make $10,000 a month running Facebook ads for local clients? The same, guys. You remember that? You remember that? How many times have you heard that pitch? How many times have you heard that offer? Over and over and over again. I bet half of you probably have a Facebook ads course, for crying out loud. Or no. That's right. You probably help coaches, right? Owen says, who sold me? Somebody. So probably, did anybody of you buy this, by the way? Did you guys remember this webinar? Anybody of you? Yep. Wow. Thank you guys for sticking with me for so many years through all my mental trauma. Okay. So here's how I did it. Principle of, by the way, just so you know, one of my staff members said to me the other day, she says, Dan, you know why? Well, I think you're good at what you do. I said, why? She says, because you're really toxic and you got a lot of trauma. I said, yeah, that makes sense. Because it's like the people who have the most trauma are good at this, because if the world hasn't crapped on you enough, you don't care to change it. You're just like, nah, it's great. I don't like making fence. My family did JCPenney photo night. Everything's fine. Okay. So for those of you who are messed up, you have the advantage. Okay. Your family didn't get along, probably threw stuff at each other. I'm from Florida. That's standard operating procedure here. Okay. You had all kinds of trauma, bad stuff happened to you. Good. Great marketing. Save it for therapy. All right. So here's what I did. I took this concept and all I did was I used the principle, which is in here, the principle of simplification. I sold more of this offer than anybody else because I just explained it simpler. So here is what I did. I said, all right, you see this guy right here? You see this guy? This is Don Draper from Mad Men. You might recognize him. He's Don Draper from Mad Men. Do you know what Don Draper does? He's an advertising executive. So here's how Don Draper's job works. Don Draper does not own a company, and he does not own a TV network or a newspaper or any of that. He's just a guy. And so what happens is when Doritos wants to put a commercial on television, they pay ABC, the platform that has the audience, to put the commercial on for the airtime. But see, Doritos is busy making potato chips that give you cancer. So they don't have time, nor do they know how to create a commercial. They just know how to put yellow, cheesy, scrumptious cancer all over a triangle potato chip. And that's what they're good at. So they reach out to Mr. Don Draper and they say, hey, man, we want to put this advertisement on ABC. Slowly puts down chips. We want to put this advertisement on ABC, but we don't know nothing about advertisements because we make cancer chips. So we're going to give you some money, and all you have to do is make a commercial and put it on for us. And then Don Draper gets a bunch of money, and he doesn't have to own a company, he doesn't have to make potato chips, and he doesn't have to own a TV show. So what does this mean for you? Well, there's an opportunity today that didn't exist 30 years ago. You see, 30 years ago, you would have had to been like Don here. You'd had to work your way up the corporate ladder, known the right guy, drank whiskey for 7 hours a day and smoked cigars with the right white guy. And then you had to meet the other right white guy. And then another white guy that drank all day as well would get in with you. And then eventually you'd work your way up and you'd be the top white guy. And then you get to be in Don Draper's position. But today, you can just log into your Facebook account, click create ad account, and now you can be Don Draper. And so what you do is Doritos is, say, a local chiropractor or a local business. And ABC is Facebook. And you are Don Draper. And you don't have to own a business and deal with all that rigmarole. And you don't have to own a platform or have an audience. So this is how you can make 10 grand a month without owning a business and without having an audience, which, by the way, was the headline. Like this. You create a Facebook account. You create an ad account and you charge money to the local businesses to make an ad and put it on Facebook. And they pay Facebook for the ad, just like Doritos pays ABC to put their cancer chip ads on ABC. And what I'm going to do in this webinar is I'm going to show you how to make the ads awesome so that you can make money. And then you're going to buy my stuff because I explained it to you simpler than everybody else because nobody read Dan Kennedy books and I did. All right? That right there is how I did it. That is the principle of simplification. Bring it down. Let everybody understand it. That's all I did. I am not, newsflash, I am not the best Facebook ad agency owner in the world. Okay? I did not run ads for major corporations. I ran good ads. I'm very good at ads, but I'm not the best. But I sold more of that course than anybody else because I explained it simpler because Dan Kennedy taught me how. Period. Okay? So does this make sense? Guys, tell me if this is sinking in. Tell me if this is sinking in. Yes? Yes? Fantastic. How many of you would like to be this good at this stuff? How much, put it in the chat, how much more money do you think you would make if you thought like a millionaire and you knew and you learned how to do this stuff? Put the number in the chat. $7 million from Cora. $500,000 a month. $30,000, a gazillion more. Millions. Millions. So would you say $19.97 or this ridiculous pay plan that they're giving you guys, which I think is more than generous, to get the absolute manual to do what I've been doing for 3 days and all the programs and all the courses. And by the way, y'all don't know this, or maybe you do, but one of my bonuses is, let me ask you this. Who here thinks it's worth $2,000 to get a 3.5 hour, to get a 3.5 hour video of me breaking down? So, but real quick, was it helpful for me to break down that one slide from my webinar? Was it helpful? Was it helpful? Yes, it was. How would you like me to break down, to not only break down every single solitary slide from that webinar, but play an audio, play the webinar from front to back, stop and pause it, and director's commentary on everything I said, everything I did, why I did it, what I would do today differently based on years of experience, every single slide. Is that worth at least $2,000? Is that worth at least $2,000? Yes? For sure. Yes. Yes. Well, that is a bonus. If you get in today, I am going to give you that bonus for free. You can have it just for getting into. It's worth more. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that is a bonus. You can have that for getting in today. Even if you take the pay plan, you can get in. So with that said, let me quickly review the offer, and then I'm going to teach you one more thing. I'm going to review the offer real quick, and then I'm going to teach you one more thing. I'm going to teach you why people do not buy. So here is the offer. And there we go. Magnetic Story Selling System. The first thing you were going to get, how to create personality and copy by Dan Kennedy. Okay? How to create personality in copy by Dan Kennedy. You're going to get influential communication and writing workshop by the way, $397 value, $2,909. These are real prices. All right. You're going to get the attractive character training. This is a 2-hour training with Russell showing you how to create the attractive character. You're going to get a designing your character training where you're going to get a 1-hour training on designing it. So creating the whole, how the attractive character works, and then how to design your own. You're going to get the Epiphany Bridge training, which is Russell's framework for telling stories, $2,142 value. Okay. You're going to get the Breaking False Beliefs training by Russell. You're going to get the Inner Circle event recording. People pay tens of thousands of dollars to be in Inner Circle. What is it, like 50 grand now? 100 grand? I don't even know how much it is, but it's a lot. I paid 30 back in the day. You're going to get a recording of that. And you're going to get the Magnetic Story Selling Manual, where all of this stuff you see here is connected to this, because let's face it, you're probably not going to go watch 19 hours of content right now and implement all of this. See these QR codes? There's QR codes in here. You scan them and it goes right to the program. that the book, so I want you to think of this as an SOP manual to doing this that you can read right now and implement. And then if you want to deep dive further, you just scan the QR code that goes to the appropriate course and you deep dive into it from there. But even if you didn't have access to any of these programs, you could literally just read this. In 1 week, you could read this, or 3 days if you're a fast reader, and immediately make the changes to your. Let me just give you an example here, right? This is how easily this is laid out. So at the beginning, you have a section from Russell, the attractive character, designing your character, the epiphany bridge, the hero's two journeys, false belief patterns. Then from Dan Kennedy, here's the SOP list of everything you have to do with your marketing. Ready? Personality and copy, 31 principles of influence writer, principle of fascination, principle of point of view, principle of legend, principle of prevention, principle of mental imprint, which by the way, I did multiple times today. I love that one. Principle of frame of reference, principle of organization, principle of purpose, principle of multi-purposing, principle of formula, principle of fable, principle of consistency, principle of place, principle of high concept, principle of desires met, principles of specific desires met, principle of multiplicity, principle of self-identification, principle of transparency, principle of self-aggrandizement, whatever that word is, principle of unique importance, principle of proof, principle of relevance, principle of welcome product status, which is an amazing one, welcome profit status, amazing one, principle of word choice, principle of persuasion, principle of importance of unimportant detail, principle of aspirations, principle of big entrance, principle of continuation, principle of self-advertising, reverse engineering stories that sell, ultra advanced sales and persuasion strategies, all in this book, ready to go. You read them and you just do it. You just do it. Let's bring the slides back up. You get all of this, which by the way, if my slide clicker will work from all the way out here, click. You also get the reverse engineering stories that sell with 12 examples, 12 broken down examples of this done in practice. And the reason there are question marks there because I don't know how much this was ever sold for. I don't think this was ever sold. So this is like new secret stuff. And you get ultra advanced sales and persuasion strategies, a 2-hour training with Dan Kennedy, $797 value. That is a total. Click. Oh, Okay, hold on. Let's just calm down with this clicker situation. Okay, so the total real value here is $13,311. That is not some made up, oh, this is how much valuable it is. This is how it was really sold for. And if you don't believe me, Dan Havey here from the group, he paid $10,000 for the influential writing workshop years ago. So even the prices I gave you, how much you can buy them for now, years ago, they were sold for even more. Dan paid 10 grand for the influential writing workshop years ago. Okay? Today, only $19.97. Or what is it? 5 payments of $597? 4 payments of $597? 4 payments of $597. 4 payments of $597. Okay? 2 questions for Dan. To hate. Oh, I lost it. There's so many comments. I'll get back to it. Okay, so today, only $19.97. My bonuses. You go take it, use it. Be fruitful and sell. Next, the 8-figure webinar director's commentary. That's what I mentioned. You will get a breakdown of every slide from a sales presentation that did $10 million selling the same stuff everybody else tried to sell, but they couldn't sell it because they didn't study Dan Kennedy, and Dan did. Dan, that means me, and that's why I did $10 million with it. I'll give you your homework in a minute. I'm going to leave you with one final lesson, and this is my favorite lesson to teach: why people don't buy. Why people don't buy. All right. So here's how it works. Have you ever been in a situation where something makes sense to you? You're like, oh, this will help me lose weight. This will grow my business. This makes sense. But then you get this feeling in your stomach and it doesn't feel right. And you get this feeling and it stops you. Or maybe you've had somebody on the phone and they've like, no, it all makes sense, but for some reason they don't buy it. They tell you it makes sense, but for some reason they don't buy it. Here's why that happens. All right. So can anybody tell me, pop quiz, can anybody tell me what the number one goal of the mind is, right? Your mind, what is its primary function? It's designed to keep you, fill in the blank. Your mind is designed to keep you what? To keep you safe. Safe. That is correct. It's designed to keep you safe. Your mind. So that is why when you touch a hot stove, you don't got to think about it. Your hand just comes right off. That's why when you get near a ledge, you immediately feel nervous. Your mind, through thousands of years of evolution, food, shelter, water, is designed to keep you safe. It's just what it is, right? So that's its default. When things get real, it self-preservation. So what is the opposite of safety? What is the opposite of safety? Risk. Exactly, AK Wood. The opposite of safety is risk. Okay? Pretty simple concept. The opposite of safety is risk. Now, in order to be successful, if you want to make money from a stock, what do you have to do first? You got to do what to the stock? What do you got to do? You want to buy it. You got to buy the stock, which means in order for your bank account to go up, it must first go what direction? Down, right? If you want to go to the gym and lose weight and you don't know how to work out, you risk looking what? You risk looking stupid, silly, fat, foolish. But you have to risk looking silly to become looking great. You can't look great if you don't risk looking silly. You also risk your time. Personal brand, you put yourself out there, you put content out there. What are you risking? You're risking your reputation. You have to put something on the line to gain. If you don't put anything on the line, if you stay safe, you stay, it starts with an M. If you stay safe, you stay, what's the word? It starts with an M. You stay mediocre. Correct, mediocre. So when you prioritize safety, is that mediocre thinking or millionaire thinking? Mediocre thinking. Now, in order to be successful, what must you do? What must you do in order to be successful? You have to risk. That's right. You have to risk. So in order to be successful, you have to risk. But if your mind is designed to keep you safe, what that means is your mind, by default, is designed to keep you mediocre. It's designed to keep you poor. And that's reinforced not just by human evolution trying to not get killed by a lion stepping out of the cave, but also by the school system that teaches you to not take risks. Why would the school system tell you to take risks? If you take risks, you might make something to yourself. We can't have that. 99% of people have to be mediocre for the economy to work. They start taking risks, they might be successful. Can't have that. So let's reinforce the idea that you have to play it safe. So what does this mean? It means that when somebody gets on a call with you and everything makes sense to them and they still don't buy, it's not that you suck. You don't suck. It's not that they don't value what you have to offer. It's not that they don't believe in themselves. It's that they have been programmed and designed to get this sick feeling in their stomach when they're asked for money to solve their problem. And they get that sick feeling and they don't move forward. They prioritize safety, and that's why they still have the problem. And that's why they will still continue to have the problem. So for those of you that say, oh, I don't have money, I don't have the time. What you're doing is you're succumbing to your default programming. You're succumbing to that mediocre mindset that school taught you to keep you a part of the system, to keep you in the matrix. But in order for you to break free, you absolutely have to think like a millionaire. You have to think different. And that is why. So I don't want you to get mad at your customers. If any of you here don't buy this offer, I'm not mad at you. I just realize you're human, just like me. Your customers are human, just like you. They're human beings. And human beings think like this. Your job is to do everything in your power, not to sell them, but to show them how to think different, to show them how to take a risk, to show them how to get what they want, which is success. So I submit to you this. If this doesn't make sense to you, if you read this, if you take the lessons and you don't think that you will make more money as a result, then I want you to put your credit card away. You can log off and please ask you, do not buy this. If it doesn't make sense to you that this will make you more money, do not buy it. However, if it makes perfect sense to you, that this will make you more money, but you get a weird feeling, you get nervous, and that's why you're not buying, I encourage you to understand how your mind works. Because here's the thing. Most people think that champions are fearless. They're not. Champions just do it scared. And if you want to be all that you can be, if you want to be everything that you ever want to be, you got to do it scared. You got to do it scared. You can't succumb to the mediocre thinking that the world has programmed you to think to keep you in the system, to keep you poor, to keep you making someone else rich. It's time to make yourself rich. And in order to do that, you have to risk. You want to be rich, you got to risk. You want to be rich, you got to risk. You want to be mediocre? Play it safe. You have to choose today, right now, if you want to be mediocre or if you want to be a millionaire. Now, one thing I'll encourage you is to think differently. Let me ask you this. I'll get the book later on. So I'll do it later. How many times has it been, I'll do it later? I'll do it later. Now's not the right time. Guys, no time's ever the right time. Let me ask you this. Who's the greatest baseball player of all time? Put it in the chat. Who's the greatest baseball player of all time? Who is it? Name me. Who is the greatest baseball player of all time? Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth. Wait a second, though. This doesn't make any sense. How can Babe Ruth be the greatest baseball player of all time? He hasn't hit the most home runs. He hasn't won the most World Series. He doesn't have the best stats. He doesn't have the best stats. He hasn't stolen the most bases. In fact, even a mediocre baseball player today has better stats than Babe Ruth. So why is he considered the greatest baseball player of all time? Why? I'll tell you why. Because when Babe Ruth played the game, they didn't play as many games as the MLB plays now. They didn't get chauffeured around on private jets. They didn't get massages in between games. They didn't have the same training. They didn't have the resources that they have now. Babe Ruth is the greatest baseball player of all time, not because of what he did, but because of what he did with what he had, which wasn't much. And the principle here is you don't get credit for succeeding in times of triumph. You get credit for succeeding in times of struggle. That's why you need this. If you're struggling, that is why. Champions, winners, they do the thing when times are bad because that's why they know they need to do the thing. That is why. Champions do it scared. And here's the thing. If you want to be, look, I'm going to give you a harsh truth here. 99% of the people on this planet don't make the money they want to make. 1% of the people own 99% of the world's wealth. 99% of people, when something makes sense to them and they get scared, they play it safe. 1% of people do it scared. and they take the risk. My question to you is, do you want to be the 99% or do you want to be the 1%? Put it in the chat. 1% or 99%. And think about this. You want your customers to be resourceful because that's what this all comes down to. You want your customers to buy. They have to be resourceful. They have to be resourceful to use your product, especially if you're a coach. But are you resourceful? You are who you attract. Are you attracting the right people? Because if you're not resourceful, how can you attract resourceful people? How can you inspire people to be resourceful if you yourself don't know how to be resourceful? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you something. I have never done an event like this where I've sold something for under $25,000. I usually sell 55. This is the first time I've done this for $2,000. I guarantee you, every single time I've done one of these events, I've done the things that I've learned from people like Dan Kennedy. I've said the things. I've made $1 million, 800 to $1 million. Most I ever did was 1.1 million on a group of 158 people. And I say that for two reasons. One, if you know this stuff, you can make money. And number two, you guys have an opportunity here to get some amazing stuff. Now, listen, we talked about the magnetic mastermind. How do you get your customers to trust you enough to do it scared? You have to connect with them. You have to connect with them. Okay. You have to I tell stories about how I delivered pizza for 7 years because I didn't always used to be great. And I'm not great. I'm not that great at this stuff. I only nail a few things and I do them well. You nail just one of these things, you're going to do extremely, extremely well. You have to connect with your customer to get them to trust you. If you had something scary to do, would you rather do it with somebody you didn't know or would you rather do it with somebody you connect with? Let me know in the chat. Somebody you didn't know or somebody you connect with. What would you rather do the scary thing with? Connect with. This manual shows you how to connect with your customers so that when you ask them for money, which is a scary thing, they choose you to do it with. They choose you to do it with. Okay? Imagine, now I'll leave you with one thing and then I'll tell you your homework. What would you all do if you knew you could not fail? What would you do if you knew you could not fail? What would you do? Probably everything. Make a list. What's the next 2 or 3 things you would do if you knew you could not fail? How long have you been putting those things off? You've been putting those things off for one simple reason. You don't believe it. You don't believe that you can do it. And that's why you don't do it. And that's why you fail. But if you believed you could do it, you would do it and then you would win. And you would succeed. Here's what I can tell you. If you don't believe in yourself, you can borrow my belief. I've talked to many of you. I've read the chat. I can tell you right now, I have not found a single solitary person on this challenge that if you had this manual, you could not do it and do it well and do it so good that you could massively, massively increase your business. You can borrow my belief. How much long, and I want you to think, are you being a millionaire or are you being the mediocre monkey? Holding on to that banana, holding on to that banana, holding on to your money, holding on to your time, holding on to your old beliefs. When I let go of the banana, I became a millionaire. I didn't even like Russell. I thought he talked too fast and he was real twitchy, okay? And I thought Dan Kennedy was old. But then I read the books and I got into it. He does talk fast. Yes, he does. And I believed. And when I believed, I didn't do the thing because I didn't believe. And when I finally believed, I did the thing. And when I did the thing, I got what I always wanted. And that was a beautiful life. Bought a house for my mother. I bought a house for my father. My mom one day calls me up and she says, Daniel, I'm so sorry to ask you this. I'm really embarrassed. I have something wrong with my teeth. I need dental surgery. It's $16,000. I don't have the money. Could you maybe lend me some? I said, Mom, I got you. I just paid for it. Here. Why? Because I did it scared. And I put myself in a position where I can take care of my family, my mother, my father. And that's all I ever wanted to do. When I was a kid, I told my dad, I want to become a doctor so I can take care of you guys when you're old. Well, I never became a doctor. It didn't work out that way. But I became a millionaire. That allows me to afford any doctor I want. And so that's why I do it. I do it to take care of my family. And when my family was all taken care of, Now I want to help you guys take care of your family. And I ain't got that big of a family. So your family is now my family. I don't believe in debt. That's not a, well, I used to believe in debt, and then I made some personal changes, and now I don't believe in debt. There's probably some people on here who know what I'm talking about. So, all right, guys. So that's it. It's magneticstoryselling.com/go. Let me do one thing real quick. Is anybody here on the fence? Is anybody here on the fence? Let me know in the chat if you're on the, I can't see general. I want one quick question. Is everybody here on the fence? Let me know in the chat if you're on the fence. You're thinking about it, but you're not sure. I jumped off the fence yesterday. All right. Allison, are you on the fence? No. So, okay. Everybody's buying it. Okay. Okay. Fence. AK Wood. AK Wood. AK. Why don't you turn on, why don't you turn your microphone on, AK? Where you at, brother? I can't hear you, AK. Where you at? Okay. We'll bring somebody else on. So Jen says, tell me how to make 2K as a copywriter for life coaches today so I can buy it. So Jen, bring Jen on. Where you at, Jen?
Oh my God, I was not expecting this.
It's okay. All right. Jen, do you like cars?
Do I like cars? Yeah, but it's like not my thing.
What's your thing? What's a luxury item that you don't really need, but man, you'd love to have it?
Vacations.
Vacations. Okay.
Yeah.
So how much do you think a vacation? What's one place you'd love to
go? Vegas.
Vegas. For what, like a week, 2 weeks?
No, that's way too long. I'm a week. Go a week.
Okay. If you went to Vegas for a week and you did every single thing on your list, you stayed at the finest hotels, you ate at the finest restaurants, you did all the activities, I don't know if you're into gambling, whatever you want, right? How much do you think, if you just balled out, you had the most amazing time, how much do you think that would cost?
I don't really have a good frame of reference for that, but let's say easily I could spend 10K.
That would give you a 10K would be an okay time in Vegas if you were there. If you're there for 2 days. I haven't been
there. I don't know this.
If you balled out in Vegas, you like the best. I'd probably say, let's just say a $50,000 vacation. Let's say somebody gave you $50,000 in spending credits to go to Vegas. Would that you'd have a great time, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask you if you would take this deal, Jen. I will give you $50,000 in spending credits to go to Vegas for $2,000. Would you take the deal?
You froze.
Sorry. I will give you a $50,000 Vegas vacation. I'll give you $2,000 in Vegas spending money. You can only spend it on Vegas stuff. I'll give you that $50,000 vacation for $2,000. Would you take the deal?
Again.
I froze again. All right. I'll give you a $50,000 vacation to Vegas for $2,000. Would you take that deal? Am I froze?
Okay. There you go.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody's freezing. Okay. If I give you a $50,000 vacation to Vegas, would you take it for $2,000? Would you take that deal?
If I give you $50,000 and then you just stop moving and speaking. So
okay, I don't know what's happening. I'm hardwired in here. If I give you a $50,000 vacation, this is why I like live events. This can't happen.
Yeah.
if I gave you a $50,000 vacation to Vegas for $2,000, would you take that deal?
Yes,
you would. But you just
No. I would not take that deal right now because I don't have $2,000. In theory, yeah, absolutely.
If I gave you 7 days to come up with the $2,000 to get that deal, Would you be able to figure it out?
I absolutely will figure it out, but that's
Okay,
why I
hold
said,
on.
tell me how to do that as a copywriter.
Hold on. No. Here's the question. I will give you a $50,000 vacation to Vegas for $2,000, and I'll give you 7 days or whatever, 5 days, whatever it is, to figure out how to come up with the $2,000. Do you think you could? You think you could come up with it?
I don't know. I don't know how to do that on that quick of a turnaround time.
So what if you tried? What would you do?
I don't. If I tried, well, I would implement everything that you just told me in the last 3 days, and I would be posting like crazy on my Facebook and connecting with people. But I don't know. I guess I'm still limiting my own self and my beliefs.
So I'm just trying to understand how important this vacation is to you. Would you be able to find it from, I don't know, a friend or your mom or your dad or your credit card? Like, would you do that, or would you just not do it at all?
I don't have those resources available, so I wouldn't do it.
What resources do you have?
My own self.
Okay.
Myself and my skills.
That's a great resource. That's a great resource. So if I said, okay, I'll give you the $50,000 vacation to Vegas, and I'll split the payments up to $597 a month for 4 months, would you take that deal?
As it stands right this second, no, I would not, because
You would not take a $50,000 vacation to Vegas for $597.
Doug, I just got fired from my job 3 months ago, and I'm living on unemployment supporting 2 kids. No, I would not.
So that, well, at least that is a very, very responsible way to look at it. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take what you learned. Okay. I want you to take what you learned today. Did you post or do any of the stuff day 1, day 2?
I did the stuff and I posted my homework day 2, but I didn't put it anywhere public.
Okay. And why not?
Imposter syndrome.
Okay. So the only thing holding you back is belief.
Yeah. And myself.
Belief in yourself. So this is what I was talking about the other day. People either don't buy from you because they don't trust you, your product, your company, or they don't believe in themselves to buy. So what are you struggling with to believe in yourself? Like what would happen if you made a post and it wasn't good? What would happen?
Nothing.
Nothing, right? Like would your world end if somebody didn't like it?
No.
What would happen
Not even close.
What would happen if a year from now you're making the same money you're making right now?
I would definitely not have a house, or I wouldn't be living in a home. Okay. Really bad things.
What is worse? Losing your house or nothing happening?
Losing my house, hands down.
So you are, if I may, to be so bold, you are not posting. You are not putting yourself out there because you are afraid of the consequence of nothing and thus risking the consequence of losing your house.
Well, when you say it like that, yeah, that's exactly what is happening. And it's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. So
do you think you might change that about yourself?
Yes.
What was the only difference? So you said if you put it like that, yes, if you use the right words, you can inspire action in your people. If you use the right words. Okay. I hope that helps. Jen, I want you to go do it. I want you to go put yourself out there because you have everything to gain and absolutely nothing to lose. Everything to gain and nothing to lose. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep, you're right.
You got it. Go do it. Go do it. And
I'm doing it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And guys, if you want the best possible chance of using the right words, I highly recommend this. I wouldn't tell you to buy it if it didn't change my life. I highly recommend it. All right. I'm sure the magnetic marketing team wants to get out of here. And they got stuff to do. They got operations to do. So guys, I hope you really enjoyed this. If this makes sense to you, I can vouch for it. I think it's a great system. It's made me a millionaire. Don't let mediocre thinking hold you back. Don't let it hold you back. I will be 7 p.m. tonight for everybody that took the offer, that thought like a millionaire. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Go to magneticstorytelling.com/go and decide today to become a millionaire. Because when you decide today to become a millionaire, what do? You study. And this right here is your manual to becoming a millionaire. Thank you so much.